Hey everyone, today we're back to cinematography. We're going to be trying to define the shot size and look at some other compositional elements and types of camera movement as well. So let's get to it. So first we have to kind of define what we're doing, right? So the shot, so to speak, is the footage created from the moment the record button is pushed until the record button is stopped. Okay, so that every time we do that, we record a shot, and what we need to do is kind of understand how we are framing these shots. Oftentimes when we're looking, you're going to see in this PowerPoint, even on the screen right now, there are two like screen grabs of shots from a film called Dune. Where like we can analyze the composition, define the shot size and the framing that they're using and all that good stuff just by looking at it. But ultimately, all of this has to hold together when we are in motion, right? It can't just be about the still image. So the shot is the basic building block for motion picture. We connect a series of shots together to create context and tell a story, all right? So the setup is everything that goes into taking a shot. So anytime we're going to shoot a shot for a motion picture, there's a whole bunch of setup that goes into it. And we have to understand kind of what it takes to pull off all the shots that we want to try to pull off. So things that go into setting up a shot would be the camera position, the scene blocking, meaning what the actors are going to do, like what movement they are going to be doing, and if the camera is going to be moving as well. We also have to do lighting, and then we have to do sound and make sure our boom, our microphone isn't in the shot. So those are some of the basics. There's a lot more to it than just that, but those are the basic essentials that need to get done in order for us to successfully take a shot. So your goal as a filmmaker is to figure out how many shots you can do in any amount of time that you're going to be filming, right? If you're going to film for 3 hours, how many shots can you get done in 3 hours? Because ultimately you're going to have a list of shots. And if you got 50 shots in your movie and you can only do 10 shots a day, then it's going to take you 5 different days for you to go out and finish that film. Okay, so you have to kind of understand those basic concepts and that kind of basic math to be able to get your stuff done. So there are 4 basic shot sizes. Okay, there's some intermediary ones, and we'll look at some of those a little later. But there are 4 basics. And the 4 basics are the wide shot, the full shot, the medium shot, and the close-up. So those are the very, very basics. The reason why full shot is in yellow is we have this woman in yellow. I forget her name. Yellow dress. That's a shot from West Side Story, I believe. And that's a full shot. And then the medium shot is a little bit darker than the other shots. And that's because it matches up with this shot from The Power of the Dog, I believe. And that's a medium shot of our character. Is it Cumberbatch, I believe is his last name. So basically what we want to do is we want to define what each shot size actually means so that when I ask you to execute a shot, you're actually framing it up properly, right? So a wide shot is a general shot of people in a space. The subject appears far from camera and it's difficult to tell who the main focus of the scene is. So we have this other shot here. It says wide shot. It's a big dance sequence from West Side Story. And that's a wide shot, right? It's hard to see people's faces. It's hard to know who they are, but we're really just trying to show the environment, show the scene, show kind of the geography of what's happening and where everybody's located, all right? The shot down below, that's from one of the more recent Star Wars films, and that's an extreme wide shot. So there are people inside each spacecraft, which means they're going to be little teeny dots. So that's an extremely, extremely wide shot. So there is an extreme wide shot that can get a little bit wider. And a wide shot is everything up to what would be a full shot. Okay? Anything between this extreme wide up to what would be considered a full shot. There even is a medium wide shot. We don't talk about it here, but it's kind of this intermediary where we're pushing in closer to a full shot. And we'll talk about all that as we move on. The full shot. So full body shot is the top of the head to the bottom of the feet, allows the subject to move freely but gets us closer to the action. Okay, so that's a full shot. So again, it's defined by we should be able to see underneath the feet a little bit, and we should get to the top of the head with a reasonable amount of headroom above the person's head. Right, now remember what we talked about when you're talking about the full shot and closer. If you get those eyes right around that top horizontal line, you're going to be getting the proper headroom. The other thing to take note of, see how it says FS right next to the beginning of the definition? In the previous frame, it said WS. Those are the abbreviations for the shot sizes. So we don't typically will write out wide shot. We just write WS. Full shot, it's FS. Okay, so look for that as well. Make sure we're learning the abbreviations. Next shot up is the medium shot. The medium shot is from the waist to the top of the head. It gives the viewer detail, but it is still a relatively neutral shot. Okay, so here we got two different medium shots. We're looking at our subjects from generally the waist to the top of the head. If you were to flip back to the full shot, you would see that there is less headroom here than there is in the full shot. With the full shot, there's going to be a little bit more room above their head. Okay, there are other elements that go into play, like what aspect ratio you're shooting in, that help kind of determine how much headroom you have, but we're not going to get too much into that. Just make sure that we're going from the waist to just above someone's head. And again, putting those eyes on that top horizontal line is going to be a huge help. This one over here from, I think it's called Nightmare Alley, the one with two people, it is Bradley Cooper, and I forget the woman's name. That's a medium 2 shot. So that's a medium shot that's got two people in it, okay? The other one's a single. It's a medium shot of Nicole Kidman playing Lucille Ball. And finally, we're on to the close-up, which is abbreviated CU. And this is a head and shoulders shot. The close-up provides the greatest psychological identification with the character because we can kind of see into the eyes. And this shot has strict boundaries on the performer because they don't have a lot of range of motion before they get out of frame. Okay, these are two different types of close-ups that you're looking at right here. One of them's more traditional, one of them's less traditional. The one of Denzel Washington, you can see we're kind of cutting his head off at the top. That's called giving him a haircut. That's pretty traditional when you're talking about a close-up. It's the shoulders to the top of the head, but again, we want the eyes at that one spot, so we're going to end up with a little bit of a haircut. This one over here, the smaller image, I think the name of the film is called Belfast. And notice how low the person is in the frame and how small he looks because of that. So that's a big like dude, like he's 6 foot something, but he looks kind of small because of the way we're framing him. Okay, so that's untraditional. So we're still doing head and shoulders, but we got all that extra space above his head, which makes his eyes come way lower in the frame, which is what makes him look smaller. So for effect, you might do something a little bit more untraditional to make somebody feel small or meek or something like that. But I also want to make sure that you can frame things traditionally. So I want to see you doing that as well. All right. Now this little chart just gives you a general idea from the full shot up, kind of what the different shot sizes are, looking at them and what the differences are, right? So you see that full shot from the bottom of the feet to the top of the head. The medium full shot is not a shot that gets used all that often anymore. You sometimes see it, but it's kind of a weird place to cut people off just below the knee. And then you have the cowboy. So the cowboy is a shot that's still used. The shot got its name from the Western, and basically what it is you're at the top of the head and the bottom of your frame is like mid-thigh, and that's because that's where the gun would rest if you had a holstered weapon and you're in a Western. So they call it the cowboy, okay? A medium shot is the waist up to the top of the head. 2 T's is also called a medium close-up. So 2 T's, you can go either way. So where it got the 2 T's name is because it's just below the chest line. So 2 T's up to the top of the head. But again, more traditionally these days, you'll also hear it called the medium close-up. But if you do hear 2 T's, it is a shot size, okay? Now the close-up is head and shoulders, which it shows. Now the one shot I would say is also not very accurate here is that extreme close-up. The way they have it framed on this chart, I would just call that a tight close-up. It's not an extreme close-up. An extreme close-up is like a detail shot of an element. So if it was just of the eyes or just of the mouth, or that just of a hand turning a doorknob or something like that. So we'll look at some examples of that. But the rest of the chart is a pretty good reference to kind of figure out where you should be framing particular shots. And here we go. First shot up on this chart here, it says extreme close-up, right? So it's just a detail shot of the eyes. So that's what an extreme close-up is. And these are just some other ancillary shots that you should kind of know and be able to understand kind of the terminology when we're talking about it. So the one right next to the extreme close-up is called the 2 shot. And a 2 shot is any shot that has 2 people in it. So if there's two people in the shot, it doesn't matter what the frame size is, it's a two shot. So you could have a two shot, a full shot two shot. You could have a close up two shot. If you're doing a close up two shot, the people are going to have to be really close together, as opposed to like this two shot here. And then if we go down below, it says over the shoulder or OTS. That's also a two shot. It's got two people in it. But in order to do an over the shoulder, or as we would normally say, OTS, there has to be two people in the shot for the most part, right? Isn't always the case. You can use an object, but usually it's a person. Okay. So anytime we're shooting over somebody's shoulder, we are referencing that as an OTS. The other thing that this could be called is we would call a single a close-up, either a dirty single or a clean single. A clean single would be just Leonardo DiCaprio, no Kate Winslet in the shot. And then when it becomes a dirty single, that means we are bringing Kate Winslet into the shot, and now it becomes this OTS. So a dirty single is the same thing as an OTS, basically. Okay? So those are just pieces of terminology to kind of make sure you know and understand. Okay? And the last shot is a wide shot, but it's a very specific type of wide shot called an establishing shot. So oftentimes establishing shots are used to give us some understanding about the context of what's going on. So if you look at that shot right there, you have all these cars trying to get out of the city because something bad is going on in the city. But then you have this lone dude riding in on a horse with like a gun slung over his shoulder, and he's riding right into the action. Okay, so that gives us some context as to what we're about to encounter for the next scene or for the movie. All right, so that's a very specific type of wide shot called an establishing shot. All right.